When the proto-man Adam went out into the garden on the 8th day to name all the animals, he came up to the proto-dog and he said, "Would you be my best friend?" And the proto-dog answered, which he took as a yes. The ancient Egyptians used dogs principally for hunting purposes. They also had two deities in the form of dogs who were like guide dogs to convey the soul from the land of life on the eastern bank of the Nile to the land of death on the western bank of the Nile. The two gods may have been patterned on two different species found in two different localities along the Nile, and their names were Anubis, this is the principal one, and the lesser known Wep-Wawet. Doesn't that kind of sound like a dog barking? Wep-Wawet, Wep-Wawet. The Hebrews called their dog Keleb, which is also the name for dog in Arabic. So in 22 Arab countries and the state of Israel, there are 23 nations in all where dogs are referred to with the generic term Keleb, and it's mentioned 32 times in the Hebrew Bible, and never positively. So we must defend the noble dog. If dogs were hated in the Holy Land, why is the world's largest dog cemetery found in the land of Canaan? The Israelites had come out of the desert into the Holy Land, and dogs don't do so well in the desert because dogs have a good appetite and there isn't much to eat in the desert. Whereas the Canaanites lived in the agricultural land along the coast, and they could support a dog population. Several times in the Hebrew Bible, the word dog is used to describe the enemies of Israel. Consider Psalm 59, which uses as a refrain the following verse. They, that is the invaders, come back toward the evening, start whining like the canine, and they surround the city. Yeah, not much puppy love in that remark. But I said we were going to defend the noble canine, didn't I? And when we look into the intertestamental literature between the Hebrew Bible and the Greek New Testament, we find the book of Tobit. And here at the beginning of chapter 6, there appears, for the first time in the biblical literature, a dog like ours, a friendly companion to human beings. The verse reads, "And the young man went out, and the angel with him, and the dog," in Greek, hokion, "went out with him, and went along with them." 5 chapters later, they return from their journey. The dog appears again. So the dog is like a framing device, and the verse reads, "On the return journey, and the dog," with the same word here, hokion, "went along with them behind the angel and Tobias." Note that the dog is following and not leading. That's the shepherding position for a dog. The dog is herding the angel and Tobias to bring them home. The New Testament continues along this vein, presenting dogs as we know them, the domestic dog, the friend and companion of human beings. In chapter 16 of Luke, there is the story of the rich man and Lazarus. The rich man would not help Lazarus who was lying at his door. The rich man would not allow his servants, his slaves, to help Lazarus who was lying at his door. But the guard dogs, who were there to prevent thieves from coming in and stealing the furniture of the rich man, these dogs had more human compassion than the rich man or his slaves. The rich man was disgusted, the slaves were embarrassed, the dogs were helpful. They came and licked his sores. Jesus, when he gave this parable, knew that the saliva of dogs have certain medicinal qualities, sterilizing qualities. And so the story demonstrates that dogs are capable of compassion, even of more compassion than the human beings who own them, who train them. Generally, bad people have bad dogs because they train them to be so, and good people have good dogs because they train them so. But in this case, the dogs exceed their master in compassion and humanity. Here are the remains of a great house in the ruins of Pompeii. You can see straight through the whole house. And with rich flooring like this, there would have been rich furnishings that a thief would love to have taken from the owner, whose name we know. He was called Paquio Proculus. Proculus had a great house, and he had a great dog, a very large animal, to guard the entryway. This dog was on a short chain. The mouth is open with the tongue protruding. This dog is a barker. Think of such a dog as this, licking the sores of Lazarus. Quite a bit less frightening is this guard dog at the entryway to the house of the tragic poet. This is a friendly dog. Nonetheless, at the bottom of the mosaic are the two words, cave canem, beware the dog. The teeth are clamped shut with the lips parted. This dog is a growler. It's not too hard to visualize this dog licking the sores of Lazarus. Over at the house of Orpheus in Pompeii, yet another doorkeeping canine stands in the same play-like position as the last one. The tongue is hanging out of the mouth. This dog is a licker. She would definitely lick the sores of Lazarus if she got any chance at all. Let us conclude with a word about puppies. They never appear in the Old Testament, but they do pop up in one of the miracle stories of Jesus when he was in the region of Tyre and Sidon, and a Syrophoenician woman called a Canaanite woman in Matthew approached him and begged for him to heal her daughter. Jesus answers with a proverb. It is not good to take the food of the children and toss it to the puppies, to the kinarios. Yes, kion is a dog, and the diminutive form kinarion is a puppy or a small dog, a tiny breed of dog. The woman then answers with another proverb. Even the puppies, ta kinaria, under the table, eat the scraps of the children. I like the wording in Matthew a little better. Even the puppies, ta kinaria, eat the scraps that fall from the master's table. This mural, discovered at Pompeii only recently, shows just such a tiny dog, and archaeologists speculate that it was painted in memory of a deceased child who is shown garlanded with grapes as a symbol of prosperity in the next life. And the child is being guarded, even there, by a tiny dog. This dog is a kind that was very popular in the ancient Greco-Roman world. Aristotle called the breed by the name Melitaion Cnidion, or Maltese lapdog. They had short legs and small heads, but a large midsection with long hair. Most likely they are the ancestors of the Maltese longhairs of today. This was probably the very breed that Jesus and the Canaanite woman were discussing. One can visualize this puppy-sized lapdog at the woman's table, picking up crumbs dropped by her daughter. And since dogs love to get the last word, I'll let them speak now. Now's your chance. Speak.